Throughout history, people have fought in wars against each other many times. Students in history classes learn about these wars and the people involved. More often than not, the famous people we hear about were men, generals, soldiers, and spies. However, what goes unnoticed is the major contribution women had in these wars. From the American Revolutionary War to World War II, women with immense bravery sacrificed their freedom and their lives to gather information in dangerous situations. This is Female Spies Throughout History. During the American Revolution, females were considered innocent and non-threatening. Men believed women were incapable of understanding the complexities of military strategy, permitting women to overhear secret information. However, some soldiers saw the advantage they could have if they had the secret information, and British and American armies recruited housewives and young girls as cooks and maids. Because of their almost unrestricted access to soldiers' campsites, women could eavesdrop on conversations about troop movements, leadership changes, equipment shortages, and deliveries. Women would eavesdrop and provide this critical intelligence data to military and civilian leaders, some even reporting directly to George Washington. They also applied traditional skills learned as homemakers to espionage work. For example, one spy, Anna Smith, also known as Nancy, would use laundry on a clothesline to signal other operatives. Abigail Adams and John Adams wrote each other letters when John Adams was away during the war. In one, Abigail writes, "Remember the ladies, and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors." This was a step towards the fight for equal rights for women, but many speculate it was also a hint to remember the ladies who fought behind enemy lines, as spies. Women served as the eyes and ears for military leaders of the Revolutionary War. The Culper spy ring was a group of spies that operated from 1778 to 1780 in an intricate network. Agent 355 is the undercover name of a female spy in the Culper spy ring. 355 was also the numeric substitution code used by the ring to represent a lady. Agent 355 was an important role in counterintelligence missions. She passed along the critical information that uncovered Benedict Arnold's treason. Benedict Arnold was a general who fought for the Continental Army, but defected to the British and is one of the most infamous traitors. Agent 355 also helped facilitate the arrest of Major John Andre, head of England's intelligence operations in New York. Agent 355's real identity is still unknown. Anna Bates lived in Philadelphia with her husband, Joseph Bates, who was a cannon repairman. She was a loyalist and was recruited for intelligence, gathering information in New York in 1778. She would seek out information on illegal colonial activity, then reporting it back to the British. Since her husband was a cannon repairman, he taught her how to identify weaponry and report on important military information. Her reports included vital information concerning equipment and strategic planning. Bates was successful in infiltrating Washington's headquarters in White Plains, New York, twice. Her survey work led to the American and French armies having to withdraw from Newport, Rhode Island on August 31, 1778. Man's viewpoint on women being spies shifted during the time of World War II. It was thought that a woman's focused attention spans made them better suited than men to the tedious work of trying to break enemy codes. Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, 1945. 10 women in uniform wearing headsets listened for coded Japanese messages through radio communications. These ladies were members of the Women's Royal Canadian Naval Service. The women worked shifts. Some transcribed, some decoded, and others decided which messages were significant. In Ottawa, Canada, women worked in an examination unit. There, they tried to break enemy codes. They were involved with radio communications and other intelligence activities that were often overlooked, partially from secrecy. Some women who had to go to France for undercover work would be parachuted into France carrying 2 suitcases. one with clothes and one with a radio transmitter. Violet Szabo was an undercover British agent in World War II. She was reported to have the best shot within the Special Operations Executive. She was described as the bravest of us all by her fellow agent Odette Churchill. Szabo gave birth to her daughter Tania in 1942. However, Szabo's husband died several months after the birth of their daughter. Szabo was devastated by her husband's death and volunteered for duty in France. In June 1944, Szabo was parachuted on the outskirts of Limoges and joined efforts of a local resistance network to sabotage German communication lines. Her group was traveling by car when they came across an unexpected German roadblock, and a gunfight erupted. Szabo gave cover for her group leader, putting up a fierce resistance with her Sten gun, and reportedly fought till her ammunition ran out. Szabo was captured and taken to Gestapo headquarters. The Germans tortured her to get information out of her, but she gave nothing away. She was transported to Ravensbrück concentration camp, where she was executed in 1945 at the age of 23. After the war, Szabo's daughter, Tania, collected the George Cross her mother posthumously was awarded by the King of England. Virginia Hall was an American agent who worked in Churchill's Special Operations Executive in Nazi-occupied France in World War II. Hall had lost her leg in a hunting accident in 1933 and began using a wooden prosthetic leg. This caused her to walk with a slight limp, hence where her nickname, the enemies used, came from, the Limping Lady. Hall was wanted by the Gestapo as one of the most dangerous Allied spies. Being fluent in French and German, Hall entered Vichy, France, undercover as an American reporter in 1941. She helped organize resistance in France by aiding downed flyers, providing supplies for opposition publications, assisted escaped prisoners of war, and acting as a courier for other agents, always staying a step ahead of the Gestapo. In late 1942, Germans took direct control of all of France. Virginia was ordered to leave, but the only way she could was by hiking through snow-clad Pyrenees mountains to Spain, her prosthetic leg in tow. Hall later returned to France and directed guerrilla missions by the French resistance, targeting German communication and transport lines. Hall was constantly moving to avoid the Nazis' detection. The Nazis had issued wanted posters and rewards for the Limping Lady. Hall often disguised herself as an elderly peasant goat herder while gathering information ahead of the crucial D-Day invasion in June 1944. After the war, Hall was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross for extraordinary heroism in connection with military operations against the enemy. Nancy Wake was born in New Zealand, but joined the French resistance in 1940. Unfortunately, Wake was forced into hiding after her network was betrayed, but Wake continued her undercover work. She cycled over 500 miles through several German checkpoints to replace codes that her wireless operator had been forced to destroy during a raid. Because of her ability to evade detection and capture, Wake was known to the Gestapo as the White Mouse. Later, Wake joined the Special Operations Executive and parachuted into Auvergne region of France to provide guerrilla groups with arms. In France, Wake killed an SS sentry with her bare hands to stop him from raising alarm during a raid. After the war, Wake was awarded with a George Medal, U.S. Presidential Medal of Freedom, Médaille de la Résistance, and 3 Croix de Guerre from France. She also later discovered that her husband died at the hands of the Gestapo in 1943 because he refused to reveal her whereabouts. Krystyna Skarbek is considered as one of the greatest Polish intelligence assets in World War II. When World War II broke out, Skarbek was in Ethiopia, where her diplomat husband was stationed. Skarbek immediately joined the British and volunteered to be smuggled back into Poland so she could spy for the Allies. Not only did Skarbek spy on Nazi activity, she also smuggled people and contraband in and out of Poland and organized Polish resistance groups and guerrilla units. Skarbek was the one responsible for sabotaging the main German communication line along the river Danube. Skarbek was arrested by the Gestapo in 1941. When she was arrested, she purposely bit her tongue so hard that it bled so that she could pretend she had tuberculosis and escape interrogation. Skarbek, as well as her partner Andrzej Kowerski, escaped Poland under new identities, Christine Granville and Andrew Kennedy. Skarbek is known for her skills of espionage and persuasion. Her ability to convince entire units to desert or surrender leave many people believing her skills are almost supernatural. One example of her legendary skill of persuasion was when she hiked a few days to locate a garrison in the mountains of conscripted Polish and German soldiers. She was able to persuade the whole Polish garrison to desert and convinced the German forces to surrender to the Allies. There was one time where 2 of her fellow spies were arrested. She went to the Gestapo and outed herself as a different spy, saying she was the daughter of a British general. Through a series of bribes and threats, Skarbek was able to secure the release of these 2 spies. After the war, Skarbek was awarded with the Order of the British Empire, the George Medal, and the Croix de Guerre. In recognition of her contribution to the war efforts, she was promoted to the rank of captain in the British Army. These are only a few ladies that sacrificed their life and freedom to gather information in dangerous situations. There are many more who had major contributions and probably many that died without the recognition. Without these ladies, wars could have been lost. History would not be the same as it is now if it weren't for these women.